Shelly, Jessica.
I see a lot of familiar names and faces joining us today. Thank you for signing up for our class. For those who are returning, thank you again. We're going to have a fun time with Rita making some textured bracelets on mixed metals. And those of you who are new, we just want to say welcome. For those of you who don't know us, I'm Jennifer from ImpressArt. I handle the marketing. And I'm here with the lovely Rita Panula, who's our design director. And
hi, guys.
Today. Just a little bit about us. We're ImpressArt. We're from New York. So I'm from the office right now, and Rita is coming in from her home studio. But we make all the tools and supplies that you need to make your own hand stamped pieces to either wear for yourself, gift to others, especially since Christmas is coming up relatively soon. I think they told me it was like 23 more Mondays.
Oh my.
And then you can also become your own creative entrepreneur, and you can create pieces that you can sell at local boutiques or fairs that are in your community, maybe even online, and can kind of generate or start a side hustle for that little extra income that people are looking for. So without further ado, I'm going to try to answer to the best of my abilities to all your questions. And I'll also put the URL links of items that Rita is using to teach the class. But also feel free to reach out to us on our Facebook and Instagram at ImpressArt.com, and we will answer questions there as well if we don't get to you today. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Rita.
Hi, guys. Well, it's nice to see some faces. I have Ladybug, who's Carly, and Roseanne Zito's here. I see Kathy. Let's see. Susan. Hi, Maureen. Hi, guys. It's great. I'm just going to breeze through here really quick. Well, like Jen said, thank you so much for joining us today. I know some of you joined us earlier today at 1 o'clock on Facebook. And just as a reminder that we do Facebook Lives on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 1 o'clock on ImpressArt on Facebook. So if you are new, welcome. We're going to be doing some textured bracelets today. You'll be working with aluminum, copper, and brass. And I'll walk you through how to hit all three metals. Okay, and then I will go through the texture hammer with you guys, how to properly hold it, and how to insert your different heads and what your heads are used for. So we are going to go to my bench with the other camera, and we will start. Okay. Let's see. All right, guys. So in front of me, I have at the top, I have a brass 1/4-inch bracelet. In the center, I have an aluminum 1/4-inch. And the third is a copper 1/4-inch. I always like to turn my block into a diamond pattern in front of me. I feel like it gives me more space to lay my fingers securely down on my blanks for when I'm texturing. Okay, so I'm just going to pull these off really quick and pull my block away. I just want to go through. I did a couple of textures on some bigger bracelets just for you to see, because sometimes with the 1/4-inch it's a little hard with the Zoom classes. So here's one in a copper. Here's a ball peen head, another one, and then a 1/4-inch. See, it's a little bit, it's harder to see the detail in the 1/4-inch over the computer. So I'm going to walk you through the heads. So the first one in your kit is a ball peen head. And if you've ever taken a class with me, I am partial to this head. It gives a really nice artisan texture to it, a hammered look. Okay, the closer you get your impressions together with this ball peen head, the nicer your piece looks. Okay, then we have the sprinkle stamp that comes inside your hammer in your kit. So this is a 6mm design stamp. Okay, Which brings me to, you can use any 6mm design stamp in your hammer. I know there's 2 more design stamps that might work really nicely that Michaels carries, and that is the Whimsy Flower and the Half Moon. So again, this is the sprinkle stamp. Then we have a chasing head. So the chasing head, it flattens and it leaves a nice texture. There is a little bit of a learning curve when you're texturing with this head. We're going to use this head on the aluminum blank today. And then we have our nylon head. The nylon head, it flattens metal without marring. And you're gonna see when we're making our bracelets and we're hitting our stamps into the metal, we're forging it. And when you forge metal, metal tends to get a little wonky. It will maybe spread to the left. It will spread to the right. It will give you a cupping effect. It will give you more of a rainbow arch in it. And we're gonna use this head today, and I'm gonna show you how to flatten your bracelets and actually bend them back into shape. All right, so the first thing we're gonna use today is we're gonna pull out our aluminum bracelets. And your aluminum bracelets, when they're in the packaging, are gonna come with a blue film on them. You're just gonna peel the film off the front and the back of that bracelet. Let me see if I have one with film on it. Here we go. So you're gonna start at the corner and gently pull back, removing that film from the bracelets. Jen, you let me know if there's any questions, okay? Because I don't see questions right now, so. And we're gonna use our chasing head. So I'm just gonna demonstrate first, and then you guys can work on your bracelets, but I'm gonna show you a little bit of technique with this. First and foremost, when you're using your hammer, you definitely want to cradle that screw on the bottom in your hand. So it should be firmly placed in the palm of your hand, just like this. You never want to hold your texture hammer up at the top, because what do you think happens? As you're texturing, your knuckles and your fingers are going to hit that steel block, and it's not going to be pretty. It's going to hurt. So you always want to be at the bottom, and you want to cup your hand around that screw. There's another reason why we cup our hand around that screw is, we all hit at different, some people tap, some people have more of a moderate hit, some people are really over the top and aggressive with their hitting. So you want to make sure that you have that screw in the palm of your hand, because it does come loose every once in a while. Okay, so again, you want to make sure that your notch is at the bottom, and you're going to insert that right into your hammer and tighten your screw at the bottom. Place that in your hand. Now, when you're working with the chasing head, we could go dead on, but what that's going to do is that is just going to spread your metal out. What I want you to do with this head is I want you to hit and pull back. Okay? And you see that it creates a really nice wider gap in your metals. Okay? I don't know if you could see that so well, but it overlaps as opposed to just hitting it and creating just a straight flat surface. You're actually, by hitting and pulling back, you're creating large divots and craters in your metal. Okay? So right now what I want you to do is put your blank on your block. You're going to take your 2 fingers where you feel safe. You're going to place them on your bracelet, and you're going to hit and pull. And you could always turn your bracelet around and continue to do that on the other side. So we're basically concentrating on the sides of our bracelets. And it's leaving a really nice larger diamond cut effect in the sides. Anyone have any questions about this head?
Not yet, but if they do, I would definitely jump in and let
Alrighty.
you know.
So Pat says, I see now the comments are popping up every once in a while. I see Pat says, ooh. So it's a very much like a diamond cut on each side of this. It's a wider divot.
Jennifer is asking, or she says that she thinks the chasing head kind of leaves like a fine scratch on the blank. So there's any technique to avoid this? Like maybe the edge of the chasing head?
Are you favoring the center and pulling back, or are you hitting it with the top of it? If you hit it with the top of it, okay, you're going to get a line on it. You really want to concentrate on hitting it right in the center and pulling it back. Let me see if I could demonstrate that a little bit better by. So I'm not hitting it here. I'm hitting it flat on. Jennifer, does that help? She said, what is she?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, it does. Sometimes, Jennifer, definitely reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook to address your other issue about the swirly mark.
Yeah, let us know.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think I know what she's talking about too. Okay, so we're going to take that and we're going to continue around our bracelet. And whoop, it's doing all its own thing today. And you're going to see how it's starting to curl. Okay? Now, once you have your sides done, I want you to hold where you feel comfortable, and you're going to go head on right in the middle. And that's going to really bring those two ends and the center together. Just like that. So when I talk about rainbowing, okay, the way it arches in the center, all you have to do really is just lightly, using your two thumbs, bend it back into shape. Now, if you look at it this way, it's straight, and then it has like a bit of a hump, okay? We're gonna fix that with your nylon head. So I just want you to pull that head out of your hammer, and you're gonna place it with that nylon head. So this nylon head is non-marring, and what I mean by that is when you use it on your metals, it's not gonna create a texture, okay? Nylon is nice and soft, so it absorbs that hit. So what you're gonna do is you're going to flip it around, and you see if you see daylight underneath. Usually there's a nice big hump, and we have a little one, not that bad with this one. Okay, but do you see there's a gap when you lay it flat? When it's a gap on the bottom, you want to put the gap on your block, okay? You're going to take your nylon head and you're going to give it a couple of nice taps. Nothing too aggressive. And then I have one here. And I'm just going to go back, and that will straighten your bracelet out. Also, if it's really curving, and you're finding it really hard to use your thumbs to stretch it back in place, that's called work hardening. Guys, this is metal, so when you keep on hitting it repeatedly, it hardens itself. Even soft metals, that happens too. So you can turn it over, take your nylon head, and lightly tap it back into place. Just like that, okay? So we're gonna put this aside.
Rita, before you do that, two people had questions. that they just want to see you do it again, are you hitting in the middle of the bracelet and pulling the chasing head back? Or are you just texturing
Nope, I'm
the
just,
edges?
ooh, is that me? Was that me with that feedback? I'm hit with the chasing head.
Yes.
I'm hitting right in the center. I'm not pulling back. So on the sides, you're hitting and pulling back on both sides. In the center, you're going to hit dead on.
And would you recommend texturing both sides?
It's really personal preference. So this is what happens, guys. We're forging metal. So when we are stamping on one side, especially with texture, wording is a little bit different, okay? When you are putting so much pressure on your stamp and hitting into the metal, it flattens out the back of your bracelet. If you turn your bracelet around, you could see that you have impressions, but they're very flat, okay? So you really don't need to texture both sides. What you could do is texture one side and then you could do your letters on the inside, or vice, you know, I wouldn't put a texture inside a bracelet, but that's just personal preference. So for today, we're just going to texture the outside. Okay, we're going to put that aside. Now we're going to come in with our copper. And again, you're going to start at the corner, peel that plastic back. And on the other side. Now, commonly asked question, is there a right side and a wrong side to these bracelets? So you're going to see that one side is very flat. Okay, and I'll show you. The back side is always very flat. The front, your ends are kind of puffed and curved. So you're going to use a side that's a little puffed and curved. Okay, as opposed to flat angled sides. So again, you're going to place that on your block. And this texture that we're going to use is the ball peen. You're going to make sure that your notch is in at the bottom. You're going to push that in. Take your hammer, tighten your bottom. You can do the same with this one. 2 fingers. If you're unsure about your fingers on it, definitely use a piece of tape to hold it down. I like to use my fingers better, only because it's easier for me to manipulate my metal that way and to turn it. Okay, so you're going to start at one end of the bracelet. Now with this ball peen head, like I said, it's more of an artisan texture. So opposed to your very wide spread out divots in your aluminum bracelet, these are going to be much smaller and closer together and give a much nicer, just like that. Sort of like, looks like an orange peel, I've been told. But the closer to get, right, Jen? Doesn't it look like?
Good comparison.
Yeah. So closer together is the best way to be, unless you want to do some kind of a pattern, maybe, you know, zigzag. But I think that with this texture head, the nicest way to use it would be just getting your impressions as close together as possible. So how you want to do that is you want to concentrate on hitting in a concentrated area, okay? And don't be afraid of it. You're just going to get them really close together. And this might take a little bit longer than the first one, okay? But this is your texture. See how pretty that looks? Another popular style that you see a lot in the stores, I know, I think they just came out with a line. I think I was on Nordstrom's. So was the outskirts of the bracelet. And how you would do an outskirt would just be hitting, like we use the chasing head, just paying attention to the outside. So that's another design tip that you could use, whether you are texturing on bracelets or you're using it for a pair of earrings or around a blank with a name on it. But for the bracelet, we're just gonna fill that whole bracelet up with ball peen texture. Now, working with the copper, it is a harder metal. So you're gonna see that it takes a little bit more of a hit, a little bit more weight behind it to get that impression, as nice as that is, okay? So definitely give it a little bit more when you're using this hammer with this chasing head on copper.
Rita, we had a question from Maureen asking if she could leave the plastic on the back side of the blank while she's texturing to protect the back of it from.
She could definitely do that. If you don't have scratch protector pads on your block and you plan on stamping on the inside, I would leave the plastic on. It's really personal preference. Do I ever enamel? You could enamel a textured bracelet. If we have some time today, if we have some extra time, Jen, just let me know and I could go over some enamel.
Any tips that you can or educate our watchers regarding copper, about them being 100% pure copper? And what
Okay,
copper
so
does?
Yep, definitely. So with the copper and the brass from ImpressArt, they are jeweler's brass and jeweler's copper. What that means is it's not plated, guys. It is raw metal. So you're going to have this copper all the way through the bracelet. It's not like you're going to wear it and about in a month, the plating is going to come off of this. So you'll be able to polish this back up, okay? It will oxidize, it will tarnish a little bit. So this blank has been sitting in my studio for a while, so you'll see that it's more of a matte finish. This was just, I polished this up with a buffing block. Once I'm finished with this bracelet, I'll polish it up for you and show you what you could use to remove tarnish on your bracelets. But, you know, just keep in mind that your brass and your copper from ImpressArt are jeweler's brass and jeweler's copper, okay? So they are raw brass and raw copper. Did that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to continue. What is the best way to hold a hammer? So the best way to hold the hammer is in the palm of your hand, fully cupping that bottom screw, okay? So you see my bracelets doing all crazy stuff here, like we talked about. I know, Cynthia, they do, they bend a lot. Remember, you're forging into metal. So as you're pushing into it, it's got no other place to go but then to, you know, have a mind of its own. But that's not a problem. We have easy fixes for that. So I'm going to show you once we're finished with this. And I believe that you guys should be almost done if you are making along with me. Okay, so you could see that I have, you know, I have quite the unevenness here. Now with the brass, because it is a harder metal and it does work harden faster, I mean the copper, I'm sorry. You're gonna take your nylon head, you're gonna flip your bracelet over, okay? And you're just going to give it a couple of nice light taps. Now, we see here, see how we have that rainbow? We have that cupping here as well. And you probably be able to see this a little bit better now. But do you see how I have that space? Let's see if I could shove something underneath there to show.
I just
Stick
want
a
to
sticker
say,
guide through that.
oh, one call out. Corel, just let us know what kind of hammer you are using. We do have 2 hammers that are both the color blue. I don't know if Rita, if you can show them quickly.
Okay, hold on one second.
One is our Ergo Angle metal stamping hammer with a brass head that's used for individual impressions. And then we have our multi-function hammer.
So guys, this is the Argo Angle hammer. This is not what you use to texture. Okay, this is for letter stamping and design stamps. Okay. This hammer right here is a multi-function hammer with the interchangeable heads. Okay, so let's get back to that. So I'm holding it down, and now I know you couldn't see it with the aluminum, but do you see how I could put my paper right underneath it? So it is creating a little bit of a rainbow there, okay? So with that, like I said before, you're gonna take your nylon head and you're gonna give it a couple of nice hits, and you're gonna see that your paper can't go underneath it anymore. You're nice and flat and straight. So I have it a little bit here. I'm gonna flip it around and give it a couple of nice hits. Okay, so I'm nice and flat and straight.
Rita, will that also soften the edges a bit with the ball peen, maybe like creating sharp edges?
Okay, so when your ball peen creates, let's see if I could do one. So I know where you're going with this. Okay, here we go. All right. So for some of us who have that sharp lip here, does everybody see that? There we go. Just like that. What you're going to take to that, okay, is your chasing head. Okay, because remember, your chasing head is the head you're going to use to flatten and shape metal. Okay, you're going to put that down, give it a couple of nice hits, and you'll be nice and smooth again. All right. So we'll put that one aside. And then we'll start with our brass. Again, the brass is a jeweler's brass. You're gonna pull your film off of it, okay? And we are going to take our ball peen head. I'm loosening up my screw, taking my head out, and I'm putting in my sprinkle design stamp. Now, these guys, the 6mm design stamps, they don't have that notch in them the way your ball peen, your nylon, and your chasing head does. So sometimes they are going to wiggle a little bit loose. That's why you're going to have to, with these, you're going to have to just check your screw every once in a while, depending on how hard you hit. I have more of a softer touch. I know my metal by now, so I know how to hit it, how I hit it at a moderate pace. If you're a little bit aggressive with it, it's going to shake loose. So that's why you definitely want to cradle that screw part right into the palm of your hand, okay? So again, you're going to hold it where you feel comfortable, and you're going to begin to texture. And you're going to see that sprinkle these little lines. It's really pretty. It looks diamond cut all through, especially when we shine it up. So I will show you after we bend them how to polish them. And you're going to continue your texture throughout your entire bracelet. We had a question about the hammers, Jen. I saw a question about the hammer.
At the end, they just want you to, what is that? At the end, can you show the hammers used side by side?
Yes. You need the heads or?
Elise, just write what you want to see at the end. Either the two different hammers we have side by side or the textured side by side. So Jennifer is asking, do you consciously hit harder in some points to get a deeper, different mark?
It's really personal preference. Once I do my bracelet, I like to go back in. And if there's some places that are a little scarce, I do go back in and hit it a little bit more aggressive. The more texture on these bracelets, guys, once they're bent, the nicer they look. So you'll see that right here, I've missed a couple of spots, okay? And I'll go back in. To fill that in.
Yep. And yes, Stephen, she's using a regular 6mm stamp in our multifunction hammer. It's the sprinkle design stamp, and you can use any other 6mm design stamps that we sell as well in the hammer.
There we go. So this one also bends a little bit, and it also depends on the texture that you're using. The sprinkle stamp is more of a flat pattern stamp, so you don't get that wonkiness so much like we did with that ball peen, because your ball peen is hitting in a smaller area, so you're forging deeper, and that's why you get that cupping in the bracelet. Your sprinkle stamp is more of a flat pattern, so you don't get it as much. So now I'm just going to show you how I polish these up. So you would use, where is my block? It's here. It is here. Let's grab one. Right here. So I'll pull a new one for you guys, but I'll show you how dirty mine gets. So if I have any questions, if you have any questions. So,
and
yes.
While you're polishing, Rita, can you just touch again on what the natural like hazards of brass and copper is, and that brass and copper is harder than aluminum?
So your brass and your copper are harder metals in general. Your aluminum is a softer metal, okay? Your brass and your copper are jeweler's brass and jeweler's copper, okay? You would be able, if you're up to the point where you're soldering, you would be able to solder on these, okay? They stand high heat. I would not put an aluminum bracelet under open flames without a very well ventilated room. You definitely cannot solder on this aluminum, okay? But it is food grade aluminum, all right? So let's say you wanted to use your aluminum bracelets as popsicle sticks or martini stirrers or hot cocoa stirrers. You could do that because it's food grade aluminum. With your brass and your copper, they don't contain hazardous lead or nickel in them. Part of the copper metal makeup it has a little bit of brass inside of it, okay? But they are raw metals, okay? So when you're polishing, let's take your copper, for instance. It is, yes, Penny, the aluminum is 100% aluminum. It's food grade aluminum. You're gonna take your super fine or your, you know what, let's go with the fine first. And you're gonna run it right over your bracelet. And I'm only gonna do half to show you what it looks like. And then after my fine, I'm gonna come in with my super fine and just hit it again. And you could see the difference. Do you see how shiny that is? So it took that tarnish right off and it buffed it all out, and that's still very dull. So this buffing block works fantastic on copper, brass, aluminum, and alchemy. All right. I definitely wouldn't take a buffing block to anything that's plated, guys. So make sure you know your metals before you hit them with your buffing block. So you're just going to continue to do that and shine that entire bracelet up. Same thing with your brass. You're going to go to your fine. And then you're going to go to your super fine. And now you can see that, how it's dull here. It's more of a yellowy color. And then you have more of a shiny gold color.
Rita, would you texture, then buff, then stamp letters, or would you recommend doing all your stamping and then polishing your
You want to, yeah, you want to do all of your polishing, all of your stamping, and then you want to polish your pieces. Stamping first, polishing last. All right. Brass is composed of both of those metals that you mentioned. Okay, it's a jeweler's brass, so you need that copper and that zinc in order for you to be able to solder onto it. And then you definitely want to hit that to see that shine. There we go. There we go. So we have all three nicely buffed and polished. Jen, should we bend them, or do I have time to go into enamel? You have time to go into enamel, right?
You do have time, yes. Yep.
Okay. So enamel. Our enamel comes, they can't be cleaned. Yes, the buffing bars do get very dirty because you're buffing metal. So you're always going to have, as everyone who's seen me teach before, I'm always covered in some sort of metal dust. So yes, buffing blocks always get dirty. I've had this one, I've used this for over, I want to say 50 projects so far, and it just gets darker and darker. Once it's completely black, then you want to toss it and get another one. But for the most part, this will last for quite a few projects. Now with our enamel not only comes in black, It comes in a brown. It comes in a green. It comes in a silver flake, and it comes in a gold flake. Okay, so I'm going to use the copper, and I'm just going to show you how you could put your enamel on. So when you're applying the enamel to a textured surface, you're really going to want your enamel to dry. Okay, so I'm going to put that there. I'm just going to leave it on there. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. Then I'm going to do, I like how the chocolate brown, the sienna brown, looks on the brass. So I'm going to do just a little bit of the brass. And you could see how it's already soaking in that brown into the textures. Okay. I'm going to let that dry a little bit. Now with the chasing head, because they're very shallow, your divots are very shallow and not very recessed, it's kind of hard to keep a patina enamel on your chasing head texture. So I'm just going to let this, I'm going to try to fan this a little bit and let it dry so we can play around with it. Now, if you wanted the black with a little bit of more of a liver of sulfur look without the toxic chemicals or the raw egg smell, the black does dry faster than the colors do. Just a little tacky. Come in with the brown. Brown's a little wet too. Of course, Jen, today they're not going to dry.
It's been humid here, that's why.
It is so bad here that you know how when my husband leaves the house, I shut the central air off. I actually have it on.
So definitely, yeah, our enamel markers, depending on where you live, if your place is more humid, your enamel might take a little bit longer to dry than in a dry climate.
Okay, so I'm still a little tacky, but I'm going to go for it in the true nature of
brave little soul.
me being me. Yeah. So I'm going to take my fine, okay, not my super fine. I'm going to take my fine, and I'm going to lightly run it over, very lightly. And what's nice about this green that I still think looks blue, it's the ongoing joke.
It's like the black and the blue dress.
Exactly. You see green, I see blue. So this really looks like an antiqued patina. It's actually really pretty. I don't think it's doing it justice right now. Let me see if I could pull a better light. Hold on. Okay, I think is that better, Jen? That's better, right?
Yes.
So that patina, that is the green marker. It does, Ellen, doesn't it? It looks really pretty. All right, now, can you say what side of the polishing block? So when I'm using the enamel, see, you would never have called it green, so I'm not the only one. You would call it blue. So when you're removing enamel, guys, definitely use the fine. Your super fine is going to take that enamel right off, and you want to wait until it's dry. Don't be like me and jump the gun, because then I end up redoing it over and over again. So with the black, it's a little bit easier because it is a little bit drier. So, and it dries quick. I know in New York here, it dries quicker. So you're going to, again, take your fine and run it over. Okay. Now, I know I just saw a question, will it wear off over time?
Yes.
Guys, your jewelry should never be worn in the water. But with that being said, I enamel all of my jewelry and then I place it in a tumbler. Okay. to debore it. So, and it doesn't come off. All right. But in order for it to stay in, your impressions need to be able to hold it. So they have to be deep. Okay. That's why with your shallower impressions, you can't really enamel these. It doesn't stay on. All right. Yes, the black looks like a leather, but that is pretty. I love the black.
Would you recommend using any like alcohol ink or paint markers?
I don't
enamel?
suggest. I don't suggest using paint markers, because the thing with paint markers is they're not designed, they're not formulated like these enamel markers are for metal. So if you spray your hands, and listen guys, we live in a world with we have to carry antibacterial soap everywhere we go, right? When we walk into a store, we put a glob of it in our hands. Like that's just the nature of the world we live in now. Anytime you use a Sharpie marker or a paint marker and you go to reach for that antibacterial or even spray perfume or cologne or any of your essential oils, it's going to pull it right out of the metal. Okay. Where if you use a marker, an enamel marker that's formulated for metal, you're not going to have that problem. All right. So now onto the sienna brown. And I think that's a little bit better. Again, fine. And you're just going to be super light with this too. But do you see how nice that all starts to come through? Jen, what did Emma ask? I can't see the whole.
Besides the obvious jewelry making, what other applications are there for this texture, this technique?
Of the enamel or just texturing?
I'm going to assume texturing, but Emma, if I'm wrong, please chime in.
So guys, you could definitely take your texturing to, if you're doing jump rings, you could texture some of your jump rings so it gives it a nice faceted look before you add it to a piece of jewelry. I know you said non-jewelry items, but
Rita,
what?
Show them your wall hanging.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Hold on, but let me finish the thought first.
Okay.
If you, because that'll be gone in 2 seconds. Let me answer that one. Kathy, clear coat. I don't like clear coat on things that are not plated, for the simple fact that once the clear coat peels off, you have to sand down your entire piece all over again, put your enamel on and put clear coat on. I don't suggest clear coat on raw metals. Okay. You could also, if you have spoons that are silver plated, not stainless steel, silver plated or sterling silver spoons, are really nice textured. You could use a texture on those and form it into a ring. Mm-hmm. You could do cheese markers. You could do a bunch of different things with your texture hammers. Now, let me show you these guys. And one has a Mandel on it, but you could definitely use texture with this. So I'm going to show you the little one first. So this, guys, is a wall hanging that if you've tuned into my Facebook Live, that's always behind me. Okay. So these guys are bracelets. My moon is made out of 2 bracelets. The big part of my crescent is my 6-inch. And the little copper is my 5 1/4, Jen, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I just punched 2 holes into it. I did my copper. Isn't that cool? I did my copper wire through it, attached some jump rings at the top. I used my GS Hypo glue. And of course, when you use your glue, guys, this is soldered. I soldered this, but you can use your GS Hypo. When you use your GS Hypo, it has to sit for 24 hours before you start playing with it. Okay? And then I took crescent shapes, and you could do these with any shapes that are available at Michael's, and you could texture these. And these look so pretty to hang on walls, and moon phases are really, they're really in right now. It's a great it's a great gift too, guys, because you can do quotes on your insides of your bracelet or stamp special messages, you know, and Jen talked about it. You could even texture. To see how I textured the outskirts of my bracelet instead of the flat side, just to give it some va-va-voom, right? You could use Donna, you could use the screw down hole punch to make these, okay? Because remember, it's a thicker gauge as opposed to the handheld. You're definitely gonna need to use screw hole punch. And then, because we're almost running out of time and I want to blend these bracelets with you, but you could also do something like this, okay, with your texture. These are bracelets also. I mean, I use them in dollar pattern on it, but you could definitely use texture to do that. All done with glue, guys. GS Hypo. All right. Yeah, these are all like really, I'm telling you, sky's the limit with texture and this multifunction hammer. And remember, your multifunction hammer should be on your block or your craft table or in your craft cart. Because if you don't have the room, I have a full studio. And I have to tell you, it's just so much easier to have one hammer with a bunch of detachable heads. It's a no-brainer, okay? So we're gonna move on to bending before I run out of time.
Yes. So we'll
I
be
could
speed bending.
I could talk forever. Okay, so you are going to pull out your bracelet bending bar. Okay, and what I want you to do is you're going to use your texture. You're going to make sure your texture is facing up. You're going to hold your bracelet bar in your hand off the table. You're going to place the end of your bracelet and firmly place your thumb up against it. Then I want you to take the palm of your hand and bend that right over to a 90-degree angle. Okay, so your bracelet looks like that. I'm gonna pull this away a little bit. Okay, then we're gonna come back in. We're gonna place your other end in your channel, put your thumb firmly against it, take the palm of your hand, and you're gonna bring that right over as well. And it's gonna leave you with a flat top cuff. Then I'm gonna come in to my center, okay? And I'm gonna give it a squeeze. And do you see how that brings that bracelet in and forms it? And then you're gonna continue to go around your bracelet, bending in your ends. Most importantly, your ends are a very important thing to form. And then go around. So the tool that I'm using is it's called a bracelet bending plier. But first you're gonna use your bar, then you're gonna use your plier. Then you're gonna come in through the center at the bottom and just pull it out a little bit. And it leaves this really nice oval. Mind blown.
The aha moment.
That's that aha moment. Everybody's like, oh, that's what that's for. So yeah.
That's our
so
favorite part of traveling.
Yes. That's my favorite part when I'm teaching a very large class and I use that plier and everyone goes, oh. So yeah. So this is your best friend, guys. So I'm going to tell you why. So I'm going to pull this apart really quick. And I'm going to overbend because we've all been there. We've all done it, me, Jen, and we do this all the time. I'm going to overbend a bracelet. So how many of you got a bracelet looking like this? No, Carly made a face. You did good, Carly. I could see you.
Maureen did. We got you, Maureen. We got you.
Maureen, I got you, girl. You ready? So you're going to come in with, I like to call this my magic eraser, and everybody thinks it's so funny, but this is exactly, Maureen, thank you for overbending. It's a wonderful tool, Carly says. So you're going to come in. Now I'm going to try to do this, and I'm not going to look at the camera so I could get this right for you guys. Where you are not bent, but so you're bent right here. See that kink? I want you to come in right alongside of that kink and I want you to bring it out. Does everybody see what I just said? And then you're going to take your jaws and form it again. Take your kink out, form it again. And it takes that kink right out of your bracelet. All right, so remember guys, if you crack your bracelet in half, you can't repair it. That's to the point, that's a point of no return. But if you overbend, it's metal guys, we could always fix it. You could always fix it with your jaws, okay? With your nylon pliers. All right, so I'm gonna move ahead and I'm gonna bend my copper, putting my thumb firmly against it, bringing my palm of my hand all the way over, okay? Just like that. Bring it over to the other side, thumb firmly against it, bend it over. Now, someone just asked if I bend it all the way over for my second bend. I like to make sure that my copper is a little bit harder to bend. I like to make sure that I have it hit the other end, the back of my bending bar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm bringing that out, okay? Then I'm coming in again from the center and I'm squeezing. And then I'm forming all the way around. My ends most importantly. Do we see how we're curving these in? And then we're pulling out.
Now, Rita, is there a proper way to put on and take off a bracelet?
Yes. So don't try to shove it on your arm like that. And you know, it's funny because I'm telling you guys, if this is going to be part of your side hustle and this is what you want to do, you're going to get all sorts of crazy questions. It doesn't fit. I don't know. This is the correct way to put a bracelet on. So you're going to put that on through the side and then you're going to turn it. And there is your bracelet. Okay? So remember, cuff bracelets, side, twist. All right, let's bend the brass. Any questions, Jen?
One came in from Stacy. Is bending a large bracelet like a 1 inch wide the same technique, or can it be a little bit more difficult?
It's the same technique, Stacy. You're just gonna have to really put your all into it. Remember that a wider piece of metal is harder to bend, and you're hitting it and you're hardening it as you're texturing it. So it's always going to be more of a challenge than it would with the 1/4 inch. Mm-hmm. Again, bend that over, 90-degree angle, bring it back over. So Susie, the bracelet bar just doesn't make it a certain size. It bends and just, it forms your metal. So you can't really make bracelets smaller. It depends on the piece of metal that you're working with. And there is your brass. This isn't the one that we made. There we go. I'm like, where is the enamel on that? So again, look how nice that enamel looks. Once it's done. All right. And there you go, guys. If you want it for a child, you could definitely, I'm not sure, does Michael's carry the
No, currently Michael's only has our 6 inch length bracelets in brass, copper, and aluminum in 1/4 inch and I believe in 3/8 inch widths. But ImpressArt does have 5 inch bracelets on our website as well as 7 inch bracelets.
Yes.
If you're any, but the average size wrist fits a 6 inch bracelet.
Right. You can cut the up. Angie learned that today. Thanks, Angie. You can, was that yesterday? You can cut them down, guys, and that's something that I would show during a Facebook Live. You're welcome, Pam. So now is like me and Jen's favorite part of the evening.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, if we could turn back over to the other.
I see Brenda's on the go. She's walking down a hallway. Hi, Brenda. Angie has her little doggy.
Ready? Okay, so I see Roseanne. Hi, Maureen. Hi, Pam. Hi, Maya. Oh, it's so nice to see everybody's faces. Beckett, that's awesome. Hi, Terry. Hi, Brenda. Brenda's walking down. Brenda, you at work? You're at work. Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. It's so nice to see everybody's faces. Hi, Angela. Hi, Colleen. Oh, I want to scroll through everyone, but we're out of time. Oh my God, there's Shah. Let's see. Shelly, Janet, Alicia, Cynthia. Thank you guys. Hi, Sunny. It's awesome to see you guys, and we totally appreciate it. I wish I could go through everybody right now, but just know that me and Jen are really appreciative that you guys take your time out, whether it's during a Facebook Live or these Michael's classes, to spend some time with us. We appreciate you guys. I see Stacy and Maria. Susan's there. Gina. Thank you, guys. Thanks. So hopefully our next class is on 8/6.
Yeah, our next class is on Thursday, 8/6, same time, same place. We will be doing a layered pendant necklace using brass, so different shaped blanks on a chain.
Right, and we'll be going over the sticker guides, how to line up your font. We're going to be using Austin, upper and lowercase. So that is a great class to take. So thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, and I did try my best to answer everyone's questions. If we did not answer your question, please feel free to reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram, and I or Rita or our intern Allie will answer your questions as fast as possible. I know I hit a couple of people up to email support@impressart.com for other issues.
Right.
So.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Have a great
Happy
weekend, guys.
stamping, and please reach out.